Hey folks, we're back. That's right, a second season of the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show after every green and white game. Join me along with my co-host Kyrie Zaber, the former NFLer and CFLer, and accomplished high school football coach Ryan Hall, as we break down each week's game for you. And new this year, we will welcome your telephone calls. So yeah, like a regular call-in show, call in, we'll chop it up with you. Can't wait to have another fun season. It's the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show. All right, and welcome to another Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show. I got it's Halsey and Ballsy in studio. Welcome to the show, bro.
Live and in person.
Hey, thanks for the shirts too.
I knew you'd like it.
Yeah.
3-down football.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about.
That's what
here.
we're all about
Regina
here.
Minor football.
Absolutely. You're in town. What do you like? I know you live in well, you've got a home in town and then one out of town. Why are you physically in Regina though?
Physically, I'm going to Moose Jaw tomorrow to do a safe contact course. Got about 40 coaches, some from the Regina area, but mostly from the Moose Jaw area. So heading out first thing in the morning to do that.
Awesome. So first of all, let's talk about that before we get into the nuts and bolts of this. It's a physical game. I don't know if you watched the Edmonton-Toronto game last night.
Did, yep.
You see the low hit on Brissett. Yep. Now, it's easy to slow something down and say that's dirty. I actually think it's so tough to be a defender. We'll get into that. I actually didn't mind that hit. How about yourself?
Yeah, we talk about the strike zone when we talk about making tackles in safe contact. And the strike zone, just like in baseball, is from the knees to the armpits. And so if you're coming in hard with your shoulder in that strike zone, like that's legal. That's legal at any level of football. And I mean, he's coming in hard, and it's a moving target. He's not going to be, it's not going to be perfect and nice all the time, and football's a rough sport.
Yeah.
Sometimes injuries do happen, but no, I don't think there's anything dirty. I know the panel, a couple of them kind of had qualms with it on TSN, but no, that's a legal play. He's playing within the rules. I mean, I would have liked to see him come with his arms a little bit. We talked about that a lot in the past, but no, like he hit in the strike zone, so that's a fair play.
So what is like, what's the overarching theme of safe contact? Like, what are you teaching?
That's a great question. The overarching theme is that it's not about technique, it's about an attitude. It's the attitude of the coaches and the attitude that they pass on to the players about the nature of contact skills in football. And that the contact in football is to make plays, it's not to try and hurt another person. So, you look at any high contact sport like football or hockey, you have to play with respect. You got to play hard, you got to play physical and aggressive, but you have to play with respect. That's why it just boggles my mind when I watch hockey and I see, somebody standing, on their skates a yard away from the boards, and somebody come and plow them from behind. Like, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when I watch football and I see somebody, like we talked about that game about a month ago, where a defender comes in and just totally leads with the crown of the helmet into the face of a ball carrier. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
You're trying to seriously injure that person, and that's wrong. So, come in hard, come in fast and physical, and use your pads, make a great play, but it's not about trying to hurt people. It's about just trying to make good football plays.
And I think we've gotten better over the years coaching with regards to the verbiage we use, like kill them, hurt them, hammer them. Like you also teach that along with what you're, the practice you're trying to teach.
Yeah, the language is super important. Like, we got rid of not only the rule, took out the ear hole blocks, but we're trying to take that language out. And instead of talking about hits, we try and talk about tackles. Make a tackle, not hit him, kill him, like you said.
Yeah. So let's go to defense here and talk about this, because this game turned. Now, listen, this wasn't the only play in the game, but I've said this for a long time, and I was a offensive guy my whole life. You were a defensive guy. I taught my kid to be an offensive guy, and ironically enough, now he's a defensive special teams guy.
He's a lot smarter.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm learning more of an appreciation for it. I really am. I mean, I appreciate it before, but when you've got a vested interest, like I've paid a lot more to special teams than I ever have before, okay? And
special teams are awesome.
And special teams are awesome. So I need to talk about this. There's a pass down the sidelines. I forget the defender, the rookie corner for Hamilton. And Robustelli is running down the right rail, as we like to say. And, I mean, That's not pass interference. I joke with you. I was texting you. You were a corner. I was a receiver. That was Ryan Hall coverage. At the last minute, you turn around. He's got, unless I'm reading this wrong, you're the coach. He's got as much right to his space as anybody else, and he turns back to make a play. I had Rider fans get all over me saying, well, the Tavon Campbell one wasn't. And I say, yes, it was. Now, I don't think Tavon Campbell's on Kenny Lawler earlier in the game was a spot foul. I think it was more an accidental one where their legs, and it should have only been a 10-yard penalty. But there's no way in hell that's a pass interference against a Ticats guy. Riders go score a touchdown instead of kicking the ball away. And they go to instant replay and they still don't get it right.
Yeah, and I texted you last night that I think the instant replay in the CFL has been quite good lately. Like, they're quick and they're making good decisions. That was a bad decision. Like, for one thing, the receiver, Robustelli, like, it's an underthrown ball. And underthrown balls are super hard to defend. You know, as a defensive back, you're just screwed on an underthrown ball. But on that one, Robustelli held up.
Yeah.
And officials are supposed to be taught, did the defender take an advantage away from the receiver? The receiver took away his own advantage. He geared down. He stopped. He didn't really make a play on the ball. The defender just stayed in the way, stayed in the position he was already in, and he didn't push. He didn't grab an arm or anything like that. He just held his ground. And so I agree. That was a really weak overturn.
I would have called it,
PI.
and I agree with you. You can bring it over here, Leandro. Just Ryan needs some water.
Oh,
If the defender doesn't turn back to the football, then I could maybe buy a little bit of pass interference. I know they don't call face guarding, but he made an effort to turn around to go back to the football, and I think that's same with the. I didn't like the PI call against Edmonton at the end of that ball game, and thank God they went to replay and took it away. Like, that wasn't pass interference.
No, that was terrible. And again, I looked at that game last night, and I thought, okay, the official that threw that, I think I can guarantee has never played a down of defensive back in tackle football.
Yeah.
Because that was just like, there was nothing there.
No.
There was nothing there. Like, defensive players are allowed to play. And yeah, the one today, like, he had his eyes back toward the quarterback. He put his hand out, but his hand was low. He didn't put his hand up high in the face or the chest or the arm. He was just feeling for where the receiver was, so he knew where he was. He's allowed to do that. He didn't grab or pull.
So and this we compare a lot NFL and CFL, and I am a big 3-down defender. Okay, I am. I think our game is the best. The one thing I will say, though, that the NFL has on the CFL, they let their defensive backs play a little more. Like, there's a little more hand play. There's a little more, they allow more, where we're too ticky-tacky. That's why 75% completion percentage, 76, 72, all these yards, I think they're bogus. They're somewhat not that they're not talented quarterbacks, but some of those stats are bogus, in my opinion.
I mean, the stats are what they are. I agree that in the NFL they do allow more. If both players are going at it, they'll just leave it. In the CFL, if both players are going at it, they'll flag the defensive guy.
All the time, almost.
Yeah. So that's kind of unfortunate. But yeah, and we've talked about this completion percentage before, and we were texting about it today. Like, the completion percentage to me is the most overrated stat in the Canadian Football League, because these commentators and analysts, they keep talking about, oh, these quarterbacks are so efficient. Well, like, I watched that game last night, that Edmonton-Montreal game. Edmonton's on the plus 20-yard line, like they're in the red zone, and it's 2nd and 15, and they run all 5-yard hooks. They had 6 receivers that ran 5-yard hooks, and Fajardo threw the ball for a completion. Is that efficient? On 2nd and 15 from the 20-yard line, that you throw a 5-yard pass and get tackled and you have to kick a field goal?
Yeah.
Like, that's not efficient. That's dumb.
No, it is.
But it counts as a completion. It counts as a stat. Like, don't tell me about completions. Tell me about, are you converting second downs?
Yeah.
Are you keeping drives going? That's what efficiency is. Efficiency is keep those drives going, get into scoring position, kick a field goal, get a touchdown. That's efficiency, not... second, 5-yard routes on 2nd and 15 with no deep option at all.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about this game a little more. Here we got Jacob Cormier says Reynolds still needs to go. He's horrible. Well, I don't know what that. I mean, they won. They're 8-1. I think everybody avoids the line of fire right now. And Tyson says Harris was fired up at Mace. Well, so listen. He was fired up, but after he hugged it out on the sidelines with him. So Harris got tattooed a couple of times, and listen, Corey Mace was here. He was here last year when Harris got hurt, and he was here, or he saw when Harris got hurt, or knows about Harris's injury history. So he was smart pulling his quarterback out. The way Trevor Harris is playing right now, if they can keep him upright, they're the best team in the league, and right now it's not particularly close, to be honest with you.
And I mean, that's a natural reaction.
Yeah,
from like
you want that,
I still
right?
remember my ancient history when I was playing for the Rams, and we'd be up big, and beginning of the fourth quarter, I got the tap or I got the phone call, hey, you're out. And I'd always be pissed off too, because I want to play.
Yeah.
Like, and high school kids are the same thing. You know, a high school kid that gets pulled out when their team's way up and they want to play. And Harris is just a competitor. So sure, he's going to be fired up, and he's going to bark at the coach and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's nothing to be concerned about.
So right here on this show, and I think you backed it up, the early on in the year, this is why this is a week-to-week league, okay? Because things change. Early on, it was Vernon Adams Jr. was the guy. He's the MOP candidate, and maybe Kenny Lawler. Lawler's kind of gone quiet. Then it was Bo Levi Mitchell and Trevor Harris. This is what it was billed at, and I was asking on my weekly podcast, who do you think the MOP was? A lot of people said Bo Levi Mitchell. I said all along, I think it's Trevor Harris. High completion percentage, has 39 years old, has his team rolling, and if today was the billing MOP, well, the clubhouse favorite is Trevor Harris. Bo Levi Mitchell, that looked like Bo Levi Mitchell from the end of his Calgary days. There weren't a lot of clean passes, a lot of wobbly ducks from Bo today.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to Harris, like the last couple of games that he's played, he's looked really good.
Yeah.
He's made some nice passes. He is throwing the ball downfield when he's got the opportunity. He still does a lot of dink and dunk, which is why he's got the completion percentage he does. But he was accurate downfield too. Like the 2 touchdown passes in the first half there, like those are really nice balls downfield. I mean, sure, one was wide open because of the defensive back jumped on that slant and go way too hard. But still, you got to make the throw, and he did it. I don't know what was up with Mitchell today. Like, obviously he got sacked a lot of times
6.
today. So, but even in the first half, like he did have a lot of flutter on that ball, and the ball he had kind of a low delivery a lot of times as well. So I don't know if that was part of it. If he was just kind of getting a little bit of happy feet and his mechanics kind of went out the window. I don't know, but yeah,
you're right. He did look like he was stepping into a lot of throws after
No.
he's got gun shy. Here was an interesting stat after 3 quarters. With the wind, Hamilton had 6 points. The Riders had 18. Against the wind, the Riders had 8. Hamilton had none. So, like, that's how it looked. Or, sorry, that was up till halftime. So that was really kind of also, we talked about that, or I talked about that one call. That's kind of where the game was won and lost there, too. When you get points out of turnovers or the inclement weather, you can, when you're going against the wind and with the wind, if you can control the game, this is how it ends up, and the Riders come up with a big victory. We will be back with more, including our takeout of the game for Italian Star Deli. The Italian Star Deli, providing Regina and area with quality specialty products since 1966. When you visit the Italian Star Deli, you're truly part of the family. So drop by any time and they'll help you find whatever your heart and palate may desire. Whether you're looking for olive oil, specialty meats and cheeses, pasta, sea salt, vinegar, canned tomatoes, or one of their mouth-watering famous sandwiches. You're sure to find it and so much more at the Italian Star Deli, 1631 Victoria Avenue, Regina. So takeout of the game for Italian Star Deli. And by the way, you can call us and weigh in on the game, and I got a question to ask you in a second, but the number is 306-992-6955. Give us a call and we'll chat with you. So Ryan, takeout of the game. And just hold off because we texted about this, but my honorary mention was the D-line board meeting at the quarterback with Bo Levi Mitchell. That was my honorable mention. It was going to be my takeout of the game.
I like that one.
Until A.J. Allen fought off a cut block and made a key sack on Bo Levi Mitchell. You texted me right there, said that was a heck of a sack. This guy's really emerged into a full-time starter. Once again, another Canadian that's around for the ratio. I know I'm beating the drum, and I will keep beating the drum, but he cuts his teeth on special teams and then works into a starting role on defense, and he's earning his stripes now. well.
And he makes plays all over the place, right? Like he makes plays in coverage, he makes plays at the line of scrimmage, making tackles. And in that one, he was blitzing. And the running back for Hamilton came and tried to cut him. And he just kind of gave a little bit of a dead leg, and his leg just kind of flopped out, but he didn't lose his balance and kept going toward the quarterback under control. That was a big thing. Like we saw a lot of times today, the Riders had a good pass rush, just a little bit out of control, and especially in the first half, Mitchell escaped a few times. But yeah, that was a great play.
Okay, so I've never won a Grey Cup, ever. I've never broadcast. Actually, that's not true. I did broadcast the Grey Cup when the Riders won in 2013. The last time they were in the Grey Cup, I was on the sidelines. But I've never coached a team to a Grey Cup win. Scott Milanovic has done that, okay? He's been around it, okay? So this isn't about, I'm not saying he's a dummy, but I don't understand this. And we talked about this when the BC Lions were here with Jeremiah Masoli. Remember at the end of the half and he threw a pick 6 when they were rushing? So Hamilton, in a tight game, it's 16-6. And Hamilton's driving into the wind, 3rd down and 2. There are 14 seconds left, and they line up at the line of scrimmage. Let's hurry, let's hurry, let's hurry. Bo Levi Mitchell, who, by the way, sorry, that's some rookie shit from Bo Levi Mitchell. Like, you can't get sacked there. I'm sorry, you can't, so that's on him. But it's on Scott Milanovic. So he doesn't call a timeout there, okay? The Riders sack, it's a fumble, it's recovered. Field goal, 58 yards by Brett Lothar. We'll get into that, too. And so that 3 points is on the coach and Bo Levi Mitchell. Fast forward to the second half. The board meeting at the quarterback. Coach is all of a sudden desperate, so he throws a challenge flag, which is absolutely dumb. It's a dumb challenge, and you burned a timeout. So you don't care about spending that equity frivolously on a dumb challenge, but when you are at a chance to maybe get a field goal yourself, you don't call a timeout, and they get a field goal. Situational coaching in this league, it's mind-boggling.
And I mean, you talk about the dead dogs you keep beating. Clock management is a dead dog I keep beating too, I think, because I just say all the time, Canadian football coaches at all levels, but certainly including the CFL, they way overrate the value of a timeout because our timing rules are so different. They watch American football, timeouts are super important. Mm-hmm. You've got to have some to be able to stop the clock in that last 2 minutes. Canadian football, the clock stopping like crazy in the last 3 minutes. They had, 13 seconds?
Yeah, 14.
Like 14 seconds, and they're across midfield. You're 3rd and 2. You want to walk off with points. And it's 3rd and 2. Like, what are you saving that timeout for? You save it for crucial situations. That's a crucial situation. We want to finish this half with points. We've kind of sucked the whole second quarter. Here's our chance to finish with a positive, go into the dressing room. We got choice coming out in the second half. But yeah, like, I don't know. And then he doubled down after the turnover at the beginning of the third quarter. He doubled down because now he's on his heels. Okay, now I gotta throw a Hail Mary and throw this challenge because 3 guys just crank my quarterback, and I hope I can get a cheap
and really that's
roughing the passer call.
And see, that's really a difference in this game too. Not just the penalty call I talked about, but early on in the game, Hamilton has the wind. They go down. They only get 2 field goals. There was a turnover on a beautiful interception by Talbot out. They always say DBs are receivers that can catch, but not him. That was a beautiful catch.
And that was not a bad throw by Harris. Like, that was, when you look at that replay, that out route to the sideline, like he was to the outside of the receiver's hands, which is where it's supposed to be on and out. But yeah, the defensive back made that diving, great hands catch. That was a fantastic play.
But Hamilton only gets 6 points instead of having 14. Then it's funny you texted me because we text during the games. You're getting that theme. I was almost going to text you. I like this McRae kid for the returner, or McShay or whatever the hell his name is, and all of a sudden, doink, doink, and it's a fumble, and Hamilton recovers, but they get picked off at the goal line, like by Roland Milligan. So that they really squandered some opportunities that the game could have gone either way there.
Yeah, huge. And you got to give Saskatchewan's defense a lot of credit. Like, they played a good game. You think of how they came out of the bye week last time playing Calgary. Part of it was a bit mitigating with the smoke delay and that kind of thing. But still, like a home game, and they came out and laid an egg against Calgary. Today, a little bit of a slow start in the first quarter. But, man, once they settled in, like, offense and defense looked really good today.
Okay. Mental note, I got to circle around. It's something I just thought of, but it's
Avery just
and we're gonna get
Avery's
to that.
on.
We're gonna get to that. Avery LeBlanc, the color commentator / play-by-play guy for the Regina Thunder, he said, "Thoughts on Lothar's struggles." So let's get to it. You want to weigh in? You can do it on the chat forum, and we'll get your messages. Or how about you call us 306-992-6955. Let's talk about this. What do you think of Brett Lothar? Are you worried about Brett Lothar? Rider Nation. So, I like Brett Lothar. Brett Lothar's been a great player, pretty consistent player, one of the best field goal percentages, if not the best field goal percentage in Rider history, if I'm not mistaken, coming into this season, okay? But this has not been a good year for Brett Lothar. Now, you can say his kicks into the wind were, it was into the wind, but the Hamilton dude made the kicks into the wind. He didn't. Missed from 28, missed another one from like 42. He doinked one off the upright. Was that in the fourth quarter? With the wind, I think.
Yeah, I think it was with the wind.
And he nailed a 58-yarder with the wind down Main Street. I'm sorry, but I see this is a Grey Cup roster. It is, but the kicking game is letting them down, especially the field goal kicking. I'm sorry, it's a business, and I love Brett Lothar. Does a lot of great work off the field.
He does.
But if I'm the Riders, you got to seriously look at bringing somebody in, either via a trade. You look at the standings right now. Hamilton, Edmonton's coming, but Blanchard, their kicker's not better than Lothar, I don't think. Well, I know he's not. I wouldn't say that's an upgrade. Boris Beattie's still out there, who's a free agent. He was inconsistent with Edmonton, but he had some consistent championship years with Montreal. Doesn't mean if you bring him in, you have to keep him.
Right.
Okay, number one. Or do you make a trade with the Argos and get Liram Haralahu in there? They look like they're pretty well dead. I know in the CFL you're never dead, but they're 2-8. Do you maybe make a trade and bring Liram Haralahu in? Because I envision a game like a Paul McCallum 2004 where he shanks it and it costs the Riders either a trip to the Grey Cup or the Grey Cup. Let me, because I predicted this week, and people call me Bomber Ballsy, so I'm going to go Bomber Ballsy here. Bombers in a crossover, host the Grey Cup against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Oh. They're winning the game 26-24, and Brett Lothar comes on the field to kick a 47-yard field goal on the final play to win the game, and he misses. I see him the way this season's going, and I hope I'm wrong for him because I like Brett Lothar. Yeah. But just your thoughts, like, if you're in management or you're Corey Mace, are you talking O'Day saying, we got to bring somebody? Well,
if you have a receiver that catches 65% of the balls that are thrown into their hands, are you good to keep that guy in the starting lineup, or are you going to bring somebody in and replace them or push them? You know, even if they've been around for a while, even if they, make a decent wage, I think you're going to bring somebody in. You're not going to be okay with that. Like this guy's dropping 35, and I don't know what
it's
Brett's
not very good. It's not very.
Yeah.
It's about 70%.
Okay, so I'm not too far off.
Which is not good for field goal kickers.
I mean, I just believe competition is really important. Competition can bring out the best in people, and I don't know why Saskatchewan wouldn't. Like, what do they have to lose to bring somebody in? If they bring somebody in and in practice and stuff like that, Lothar's still better. Okay, well, what did you lose? You paid somebody on the practice roster or whatever you had to pay to fly them in. I don't think the Riders are, like, especially right now, like being where they are at the top of the standings, like we got to start getting, get serious about this kicking game because, like you said, that can make a big difference in key games and playoff games. Like, the kicking game in the CFL is massive.
Huge.
Whether it's punting or field goal kicking or even extra points. We talked about that, the first touchdown the Riders got, and they went for 2. And I texted you.
Did that twice?
Yeah. And I texted you, I said, well, it's way too early to be chasing points. Why are we chasing points here? It worked out because we ran it in.
I don't think they were chasing points.
Yeah, but then I thought about it for 2 seconds. I was texting you, and maybe they did it because they didn't have faith in Brett to kick that extra point.
Yet, give Coach credit. He put him out there for the 58-yarder at the end of the half, and you texted me, watch out for the miss, because that happened, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, we saw that the other night.
In Winnipeg,
yeah.
But he nailed it right down Main Street, so Coach showed some balls and faith in Lothar putting him out there. So it's not – Coach is giving him the very long leash, but I think you got to start shortening it now. I mean, listen, love the guy. I'll say that 10 times. I text him regularly, keep your head up. But at the same time, this is a business. We're trying to win. This team's only won 4 Grey Cups. Hadn't been in the Grey Cup since 2013. We know what happened in 04 with Paul McCallum, Mr. Reliable, shanks in 18
yards.
It happens, but it's almost like you're on the Titanic and you could see the iceberg, but you're drinking and the band's playing and you're ignoring it. Oh, we won't hit it. Oh, we won't hit it. Oh, shit, we hit it. That's kind of how I feel right now.
I was just at the Titanic Museum a couple of weeks ago. Kind of funny you mentioned that.
But you know what I mean? That's what it feels like to me right now. You can see it. And kickers are weird, and I don't mean that.
And he does, like, when you see him after, when they do the close-ups, that's tough to close up on a guy when he misses a kick and stuff. But yeah, like, it just seems like he's really struggling mentally, like in his own head. He's just trying to figure out like what the heck's going on here.
It's funny. I've been texting. I've become friends with Sergio Castillo on the Blue Bombers just through my son, because John Ryan got Sergio to look after my kid when he first got there. So I say, hey, thanks, blah, blah, blah. So it's funny, before that Winnipeg-Ottawa game, I texted him, because the week before he hit a 63-yarder, and then unfortunately they didn't take a TV timeout, they went right into kicking it, and he's all amped up, the wind's at his back, and he put it in the end zone. Calgary goes down and kicks the game-winning field goal. So we were talking, and I said, my favorite player of all time is Philip Rivers. He was a trash talker, which I like, but never swore, which I do, you've just heard. But Christian guy, and he lives by this saying, and if you go to Philip Rivers, he's got a big football field in a field in Alabama where he lives. Like, he built a big turf because his kid Gunner's apparently a great quarterback, up and comer. Anyway, in both end zones, one end zone it says Nook, and in the other end zone it says Cheppy. Nook Cheppy, Nunccoepi. Nook Cheppy stands for now I begin. So he said, now it's Latin for now I begin. So he goes, when I'm playing quarterback, if I throw an interception, I go back to the sidelines and I say to myself, Nook Cheppy, now I begin, replay. Yep. If I throw a touchdown, great, celebrate, Nook Cheppy, now I begin. So I texted Sergio before the game and I said, I tell Ethan this, and as a defensive back, you'd know, you need to have a short memory. Hey, interception, Nook Cheppy, now I begin. Oh, got burned for a touchdown. Oh, shit, Nook Cheppy, now I begin. And so he goes out and he nails a 58-yard field goal. Or sorry, he misses a 58-yard field goal to win the game. They run it back for a touchdown, Ottawa. Then he kicks the game-winning field goal, and he texts me. I texted out before the game. He goes, Nook Cheppy, now I begin. And he said, that's what I thought of when I went to the sidelines. So that's where I'm going with this is kickers nobody really considers them football players because they're over here. But when they're called upon, nobody wants that job. But it is, like you said, everybody's focused on you. It's very mentally taxing. So you got to find a way to Nook Cheppy, to flush it.
And we've made this comparison before to golf. And a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people like me, hackers on the golf course, and you make that great shot, and like you said, okay, I gotta get back and focus on just relax and slow backswing and keep my eye on the ball, because if I start thinking about that last one that I made or the last one I shanked, I'm screwed. Mm-hmm. I just got to think of the one I'm on right now.
So before we get off this topic and get to our next break, by the way, 306-992-6955 if you want to weigh in and talk with Ryan and I. Pick Ryan's brain. He knows a lot more about the intricacies of the game. I just like to blabber. I say it's pro football, but I mean, bringing a guy in doesn't hurt you. Do you think it improves? Like, do you think that will spur Brett into? Like,
well, who knows? Because you never know until you try.
Is it a lack of focus? What is it? Is he just in a rut? What do you think it is?
No, I'm sure it's not a lack of focus, because, I mean, to be a kicker, to have the career that he's had to be very mentally tough. He's had to, focus on what he does and work really closely with the people he relies on, in particular the long snapper and the holder. We talked about that early in the season, that the holding might have been a little bit of an issue. I'm not sure if it still is or not.
It doesn't look like it is.
No, it looks like it's okay. But yeah, what do you have to lose? Like, it can't get, because was he 2 for 5 today?
2 for 5, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Can't get much worse
But
than that.
but there's something to be said for that. And I don't like to make excuses for guys because a lot of this falls on Brett. But it's the same thing when I had my son on. You heard the interview. Like, we talk about quarterbacks with receivers in chemistry. The Blue Bombers have had a lot of injuries in their secondary. So Jamal Parker's at safety, but then Bridges was having trouble, so they released Bridges and bring in Dexter Lawson. So Dexter Lawson's plucked from the couch. He has 1 week of practice, okay? He doesn't have chemistry with that halfback. Over here, there's Bonds, they call him Butta. Bonds gets hurt, so they have to bring Vavel in to play corner. Vavel's playing corner, but he's not really getting a lot of reps, and so he doesn't have the chemistry with Evan Holm. So then Evan Holm doesn't know, like, when they don't have the communication, when I undercut, when you drop, when we pass off, okay? And then same with kicker. Like, when you had Brett Lothar had John Ryan, maybe the best holder, I don't know, in the last 20 years. Think about how many balls that he's taken from snapping. Then he went to Adam Korzak for 2 years.
Who did a good job.
Who did a great job. And now you go to another guy and you're only 9 games in or whatever it is with this guy. I mean, maybe it is a little bit of chemistry issues there too.
Yeah, chemistry is huge. Like, especially, offensive line is all about chemistry. Defensive backfield, like you said, is about chemistry. Quarterback receivers is about chemistry. And specialists is all about chemistry. So there's just so many dynamics that go into it. I think just the easy answer is let's just bring somebody in or a couple and let's just try. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, and you got a local kid who was in Hamilton, Eric Maximuk.
Right.
Who's a great kicker for the Thunder. He's a local guy. Bring him in and see what he can do. Brett Lothar got his start bouncing around practice rosters. You never know.
He did.
Now, do you want to turn a Grey Cup roster over to a guy that you don't know? But I don't know. Does it hurt for one game to bring him in? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to take another break, get to some more of your messages. Once again, the number to call, 306-992-6955. This is the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show. Ward Tire Craft Regina, proud to be the last of the small town style tire and automotive shops in the city, prioritizing the happiness of their customers and the safety of their vehicles. They've had some of the same customers for over 40 years, including yours truly, which is why I asked them to come on board as a sponsor for my shows. For all your tire and mechanical needs, go see Michael Barth and his crew at 101 Dudney Avenue. Tell them Ballsy sent you, and you get 10% off. Ward Tire Craft, the drive of the game. Got a couple of messages we'll get to in a second here. I would say, and by the way, Ward Tire Craft, I got Rider Nation. I helped out one of your favorite guys, Sam Emelis. He needs brakes. I said, go see my buddy Michael Barth at Ward Tire Craft. Called him up, and he's going in on Tuesday. So look at that. We're making sure your favorite receiver gets to and from practice safely with new brakes from Ward.
When's he going to be back on the field?
I have no idea. I didn't ask him, and I don't think he would tell me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I get accused of leaking things. So and that's
really?
And that's bullcrap, by the way. Okay, so Spider says, hey, Ballsy, Spider from Halifax. Bo under pressure and dealing with elements wind is absolutely terrible. Did the same thing in Calgary. I'm sorry, Bo, but you will never win the Grey Cup again like that. So, I mean, listen, there are no trophies handed out in the middle of the summer. Riders still have a tough stretch of games, and I'm sorry, and this isn't me being bomber ballsy, but
and who cares if you're bomber ballsy?
I know,
I don't care.
I know, but
your kid's playing for the Bombers.
I know.
Go ahead.
Okay, but I'm going to tell you this. Regardless, the West still goes through Winnipeg until the Riders can prove they can beat Winnipeg.
They got to win at least one of the
Riders
next two.
The Riders haven't won in Winnipeg since 2018, and except for one game, they haven't been particularly close in Winnipeg. It's almost like that's the kryptonite. Okay, I was going to use a politically incorrect word, but they're mentally small, if you know what I mean, when they go to Winnipeg. They seem to be like they don't know what they're doing. Now, they got swagger this year. They got the best defense in the CFL, so it could totally be different, but the West goes through Winnipeg till they show that they can win in Winnipeg. But 8-1 is a nice stretch. The drive of the game wasn't a long drive of the game. The one I'm picking, it piggybacks. So good teams take care of their opportunities. the bogus pass interference call against Hamilton, and then Trevor Harris, and that's going to lead us into our On the Money segment, which I'll do both here, and then you can run the On the Money segment later there, Leander. So drive of the game is that one, the pass in between two defenders, the goal line for Tommy Neild.
Neild, yeah.
That was
catch.
an On the Money pass for Payson Insurance Services and Ward Tirecraft. It was a quick drive, but that really was what good teams do.
Yeah, you have to take it. You got to turn those turnovers into, or those penalty opportunities into points. And the Riders did a good job of that today. And as you mentioned before, Hamilton didn't do a very good job of that. So yeah, that was a really nice pass and great concentration, a little bit of traffic there on the catch.
So I've been critical of Jeremy O'Day in the past, but I think it's time to be fair. That's what I am, fair. I will say this. They have found a way to navigate injuries with the way they brought guys in. And think about this for a second. Think about this for 1 second. No, Mitch Picton's not, he's a backup now.
He played today.
A little bit, but not as much as Tom.
Yeah.
Like Tommy Neild kind of taking him over.
Because he's been a healthy scratch the last couple games.
That's right. So Tommy Neild, Mitch Picton. Where I'm going with this is we've got Keyshawn Johnson, we've got Myers. We haven't seen Sean Bain Jr. this year. Sam Emilus
since the beginning when he got hurt.
No, Sean Bain Jr. hasn't played at all this year.
No, I thought he got hurt early.
No, Sam Emilus and Kean Schaefer-Baker haven't played, and I even though Coach says I don't see Kean Schaefer-Baker coming back, he's still walking with a cane at practice. Sam Emilus will be back at some point, but he's missed more than he's played, and this offense hasn't missed a beat.
Yeah, and again, you got to give a lot of credit to Mark Mueller.
Yes.
As the offensive coordinator.
Yes.
And Trevor Harris, making chicken salad out of chicken crap.
Yeah.
When you can just rotate guys in and still make the catches and the first downs and the touchdowns and stuff, you got to give a lot of credit for that.
We got this from Jacob. Let's hope O'Day and Reynolds' curse doesn't hit the Riders in the back half of the season. Well, hey, they can only play the ones on their schedule. And up until, I will say this is a good statement win for the Riders, because up until this point, the only team they've really played at full strength that hadn't really had injuries or anything were the Calgary Stampeders. And the Stampeders, it was an adverse situation with the smoke, but both teams had it, even worse for Calgary, and they smoked the Riders. That game wasn't even close. That was the Riders' only loss. That's why I'm really looking forward to next week, because the Stamps are coming off a bye. They're a very athletic team up front. The Riders are very athletic. Those are the two best teams in the league. But this was another statement win, because Hamilton, I know they had a couple of injuries. Katsatonis, who's arguably the best safety with the Qua in the CFL, was out. Peters didn't play, and they were missing one other. They were missing somebody else big time too. But pretty good opponent coming in here, and the Riders handled them thoroughly. So it was a statement win.
Yeah, it was. And when you look at their schedule, like this week, next week, and then first 2 weekends of September, those are three of the top teams in the CFL that they're playing. Or, Winnipeg's not in the top; they're in the middle. But like you said, you keep saying all the time, they're still the ones. They're still the ones that have been in the last 4 or 5 Grey Cups. So
yeah, and they're getting healthy.
Got to be able to beat them.
They're getting healthy, and they got some other.
Claros looked really. He was moving the other night.
Well, he was. He didn't look great. He still made a couple of throws he'd like to have back. But winners, when the game's on the line, he ran for 17 yards and then hit Dembski. I'll tell you. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this for a second. So we're talking about field goals, and Mace trots out Lothar for the 58-yarder. So a 63-yard field goal, he nailed it from about 67 the week before with the wind at his back. You're up by 7. There's about 2 minutes to go, right around there, and he trots out with no wind in Winnipeg, his home turf. He, being O'Shea, puts out Castillo. Okay, it was long enough. It was wide. Did you agree with that decision, or should they have gone for it? Because you make the field goal, the game's over. If you get stopped, Ottawa gets the ball. That's the first part of the question.
I'm not. I really respect Coach O'Shea.
Yeah.
I've met him and I've talked to him a little bit, through the safe contact world and stuff. But I've never been in his dressing room, and I don't know, kind of the. I have a bit of an idea of the culture that he runs there, because just like your son's there, my son was there for a couple of years ago for training camp. Yeah. And I kind of compare that maybe a little bit to Dan Campbell in the NFL with Detroit. Like, we're going to do what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's going to work out for us because we believe in it. Everybody believes in it. Everybody buys in. We're going to do it. And so I probably wouldn't have made that decision, but I'm not Mike O'Shea. And if that's kind of, if that's the mentality and the culture that they have there, like we're gonna put it all on the line there. We're gonna kick the 57 and give it a go.
Well, and you also positively are a prisoner of the moment, as I like to say, because you just have a recent example of him nailing a 6 with the game on the line. Right. I know it was wind aided, but wasn't that it was short. It was just that he hooked it a little bit. So second part of that, okay? So that's a coaching decision that you could maybe question.
You could question it.
I probably would have gone for it, but but not the field goal. I would have gone for it on third down with Strevler because you've only been stopped one time. But I also get why he went for it, okay? So I do get that. Two things I don't get. I like Bob Dice. I like Bob Dice from here to the end of the world and back. Great guy, okay? So Mike O'Shea has proven to me he can be a head coach, then a special teams coordinator. Okay, he's got Mike Miller. He's in all the meetings. He does help. He does coach up on the side because I know he personally has helped my son with hand placement stuff. I'm talking O'Shea. But he can wear the coach's hat as opposed to the special teams coach's hat, okay?
But he was a special teams
coordinator. No, I know, but what I mean is he could separate. I don't think Bob Dice can do that. There was a game here in Saskatchewan a couple of years ago when I was the voice of the team. He could have gone for it down near the goal line. He elected to go for a chip shot field goal, and then they kicked it off to Mario Alford, who ran it all the way back to set it up in a field goal range, and the Riders won. Instead of burying the Riders going for it in deep, right? Okay? Once again, be conservative. Take the special teams coach to being the head coach here. You got to go for the field, right? So it's the devil on his right shoulder telling the head coach in his left shoulder. Same thing in this game. You're down by 17 points. Your offense, your starting quarterback's out. Your offense is finally moving. You're third and short in Winnipeg territory, and you go for a field goal. Come on, man. Drop your balls. You're the head coach. Don't kick the field goal.
I know that one got a lot of criticism. I think it was the smart play. Like, if you want to play smart, you need a field goal. You're down by 3 scores. You need a field goal. It's third and 2? Third and 2.
Third and 2.
Yeah. So it wasn't a total gimme. So you take the 3 points now because you need it at some point. But then, the other part is more the momentum and the emotion and the confidence side of it, which is all the intangibles. And that's, for us outside, we don't know what those intangibles are. I don't even know if Bob Dice knows. Because
are you an analytics coach? Or are you a coach by the intangibles?
I'm sorry. I'm definitely not an all-out analytics guy because, as a high school coach, we don't have all the same numbers. But I'm big with my players. Like we had a situation in the city final. I remember a number of years ago. Josh White.
Yes.
We're just on our side of half. We're about on our own 50-yard line. It's third and a long 2, and there's about a minute and a half left in the game, and we're up by a couple, up by 2 points.
Yeah.
And so third and 2, I go walking over to Kelly Adams, our offensive coordinator, and I say to him, "What do you think?" And Josh White, who is on the field as he played a little bit of fullback. He's mostly a linebacker, but he played fullback. He just yelled over to me. He said, "Trust us, coach." And I didn't care what Kelly said. I said, "Go for it." And we went for it and we got it.
Yeah.
So like to me, so that's not analytics. That's just that kid I believe in. That kid on the field that just told me to trust him. He's given me every reason in the 4 years that I coached him. He gave me every reason to trust him, and I knew that he was going to come through. He'd get the other guys to come through. So maybe Bob didn't have a Josh White. Maybe Josh White should have stayed with Ottawa when he got drafted there.
So situational coaching number 2.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about Scott Milanovich, and then you talked about if a receiver only catches 65% of his passes, he's gone. If a kicker is at 70%, you're talking about bringing somebody else in. I don't fire anybody on my show. I don't do that. But situational coaching, part B. So Ottawa, gets the ball after King Ambers, a late round draft pick who I don't even know if he made it to, he was on a regional combine and got invited to the combine, okay? And he's now playing safety because of injuries in Ottawa. Makes it outstanding. He runs across and gets in front of Dembski and makes an interception when Collaros tried to go deep for the knockout punch. So Ottawa's got the ball after tying it at 27 on the missed field goal return. They got it deep in their territory. Winnipeg has one timeout. They throw the ball on first down. It gets batted down. And then run the ball on second down. Why do you not run the ball twice?
On
You're
first
deep
down.
in your territory. Make Winnipeg use one timeout. Then you can roll the clock. And if you have to punt it, that might be the last play. Or they get the ball with 2 seconds left. Winnipeg gets the ball. Collaros does his magic. Castillo kicks the ball. If Castillo gets a second chance, see you later. Good night, Irene. And that's exactly what happened. Like, situational coaching. You're the head coach.
Yeah, and not only situational, but as we talked about earlier, time management, because time management is a big part of that. And even like in today's game, I texted you at the kind of once the Riders got that interception early in the third quarter, I texted you, I'd like to see a real nice grinded out drive here. Like they're up, that you're already managing the clock in the third quarter. Like we're saying, we're going into the wind. Let's just be patient. Let's just, run the ball and get some easy completions, try and keep moving the sticks, because that running off all those seconds, all that time that Hamilton would have had to win, like every play you take away from them is a chance that they have to score. So,
yeah. Okay, so we're going to take a break. By the way, we'd like you to like this on our different platforms and share. And the best way to know we're coming on, you go to Ballsy Uncut on YouTube and subscribe, and you'll always be notified when we do, or when I do, the 3 times a week podcast or this post-game show after every Rider game with either Ryan Hall or former CFL and NFL defender Kyrie Zaber. So like or share the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show and Ballsy Uncut, because that's the best form of promotion. I'm already spending a lot of money to do this, so I'd like your help too if you do like what you're hearing, and I get a lot of good comments, so I need you to be my promoters if you can help me out. Okay, we'll take a break.
And call in.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks. 306-992-6955. Payson Insurance specializes in helping hard-to-insure people get coverage. They also offer a range of financial management and investment services to help secure your future. People care most about their money and their family. I personally trust Kevin. Best way to describe dealing with him are the 3 C's. He's comfortable to deal with, he cares about your future, and he's confident in helping you make the right financial decisions. Payson Insurance. Give them a call, 306-596-0244. All right, thanks to Kevin Payson for getting on board. And yes, we already have got to our on-the-money play. That was the pass that was down the left sideline in the end zone, away from the Maxtron end at Mosaic Stadium to Tommy Neal, his second touchdown grab as a Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Hey, sorry, can I interrupt for a second? When you talk Maxtron, I know they talked about it on the broadcast and like the swirling wind in Mosaic Stadium.
Yeah.
Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
It is very hard. When I coached in Mosaic, and even when I broadcast games for the Rams and stuff like that, I always walk the field just to see kind of where the wind goes. And you walk down the hash, and on one end of the field, the wind's blowing that way. The other end, it's blowing the opposite way.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's blowing across. And especially if there's any wind coming from a southern angle that comes in that Maxtron end, it swirls around and it's a nightmare. So, I know we were talking about the kicking game, especially with Brett before, but it's for kicking and passing and stuff and returning punts. Like, it's tough. It's very tough with that swirling wind. So I just wanted to mention
no, for sure. And speaking of that, Sean Osler says the Riders need to bring in a kicker to push Brett. No, it doesn't hurt to try something different in the kicking game. Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't come in, let's have a tryout. Doesn't work, you stick with Lothar. 306-992-6955, the number to call. I want to keep talking field goals a little bit here. the Winnipeg kick missed from 58 yards that Pimpleton took back, which, by the way, is another great thing in the Canadian Football League. That doesn't happen. And I've only
Shut up about get rid of the Rouge.
I know. I've only seen this once. I've only seen this once in the NFL, and it was the night or the day that Adrian Peterson almost set, or if he did set the single game rushing record in the NFL against my Chargers. But right before the half, they lined up for a long field goal, and Antonio Cromartie caught it on the end line and ran all the way back for what would be a 109.999 yard touchdown. But
broke Devin Hester's record that I think was 108.
Yeah, so you rarely see that in U.S. football, okay?
No.
So
they don't even have returners back there.
No, so Pimpleton runs this one back for a touchdown, and you could see it coming. Okay, you really could see it coming. In fact, and actually, Gauthier got held on the play, got absolutely bear hugged. If you watch that again, the Bombers, it should have been a holding against Ottawa, but whatever, it's a touchdown. But here's my question to you, because I said this to my son. I said, okay, so are you guys going to try to do something different? And he didn't. I'm not saying what he said, but here would be my thought, and you're a coach. So when you kick it that deep, like the Riders did today, great Lothar made it. Great Castillo made it the game before, but he missed that one. It turns back for a touchdown. Because let's face it, we're asking 300-pound men to run down the field. They look at best like mall walkers. You know, the old guys that try to wiggle their ass and speed walk in a mall in the winter. That's what they look like. Like, come on, Patrick Neufeld's not going to catch Pimpleton. So can you change it up where you put like smaller guys on the
defensive linemen,
or do you run a risk? Like, say, let's use my son for an example. Can you put my son on the end as a flank where he just kind of redirects that edge guy and then goes down to cover because he's faster? Or do you run a risk of him being too small for that cover unit? Like, I don't know. Like, what do you do there?
Yeah, I've never coached professional football.
Yeah.
Coaching amateur football, our field goal cover team, and that's the team that I call the people that line up when we're kicking a field goal, because I always, as a special teams coach, it's always cover.
Yeah.
You know, we're kicking and then we're covering.
Yeah.
My field goal cover team was radically different than my convert team.
Yes.
Because convert, we're just leaving the offensive line out there, leave the bigger bodies out there, because we don't have to cover. You just kick and it's good. It's good. It's not good. The play's over.
Yeah.
But field goal, if we kicked a short field goal, then sometimes I just leave the convert team out there because they don't have to really cover that far. You know, if we're kicking from the 12-yard line or 15-yard line or something. Yeah. But I don't think you're losing much in protection if you put like defensive ends and some of your bigger interior linebackers and then out on the end, on the outside, like on the wings and stuff like that. Yeah, like a kid like Ethan that's, you know, got decent height and decent arm length, like he's okay out there.
Yeah.
You don't have to be 300 pounds on the wing. You know, you got to be able to get downfield because those kicks, as soon as the ball is kicked, everybody's got to cover and you've got to fan out. So, and those, like you said, those offensive linemen, they don't know how. You see offensive linemen operating in space, they're very uncomfortable. That's why you see so many screen passes at any level of football, pro, college, whatever, and they're set up beautifully. They're designed great. You get those big offensive linemen, centers and guards out in space, and they run down the field and they don't touch anybody because they're just not used to being in space. You put them a yard apart and they'll whack people all day. But, you know, when they're trying to track down a defensive back, they're like a pig on roller skates. You know, or Bambi on ice. They're just out of their element. So, yeah, I'm not sure. And again, I've never coached pro football because it seems like in pro football they usually do just keep their offensive line on there. And I don't know. I just think, you know, putting some guys on there that are 40 pounds lighter but way more athletic and way more used to working in space, I don't know. Would you get that many blocks? I'm not sure.
So let's talk about the Rouge for a minute. People always bring up the Rouge, and we got to get rid of the Rouge and all this stuff. The only way I would be in favor of anything to do with the Rouge, the only time I would sit and be, as a traditionalist, as a guy that likes the rugby heritage of our league where the Rouge comes from, is if...
Even though there's no Rouge in rugby.
No, but it's
you got to play the ball.
You got to play the ball.
Yeah.
So, but here's the only way that I would be okay with them maybe tinkering with it is if the ball isn't playable. Like if I'm at the 27-yard line and I miss the field goal and it goes through the back of the end zone and it's the last play of the game, you don't get a point. It's got to be play. Or the punt, you can't punt it into the end zone through the end zone. Like if it bounces in the end zone and goes out the back, then that is a potentially playable ball, so it's a rouge. But if it goes out without being touched, that's the only way that I would be okay with them touching the rouge.
Like you get all these clowns that say, get rid of the rouge, it's so stupid, you're getting rewarding failure. Okay, let's get rid of the rouge. What do you replace it with?
Touchback?
Yeah, you replace it with nothing plays, which American football is full of. Touchbacks. A touchback where nothing happens.
Fair
where
catch.
The ball bounces and sits there, and people just kind of stop running, and eventually, I don't know when the referee blows the whistle, but the referee blows the whistle and the play's over. Nothing has happened. The rouge forces teams to make a decision. Either we're going to give up a point that's going to cost us, or we're going to try and make a play. We're going to try and return the ball. And that makes it exciting. It's an exciting play. As we saw this weekend, a kick return on a missed field goal or a long punt out of the end zone is a potentially super exciting play. A touchback is never an exciting play. A play that ends with the ball bouncing and sitting and the referee blowing the whistle is the most boring play there is. And American football is full of them. So don't talk to me about getting rid of the rouge because there's nothing good to replace it with. That's going to make the game exciting and fun.
Our kicking game is so spectacular. Pimpleton was one. But even just the minutia plays. Like there was the game, the Edmonton-Hamilton game, okay? Cody Grace punched the ball, and I don't know if he meant to do it, but he kind of sidewind kicked it, and then he ran down and got on the football. You can't do that in the U.S.
And you can't advance a muff in the U.S. Like if the punter muffs the ball and the team covering gets it, they can't advance it. It's just dead ball. Why not? Why can't you pick that up and run for a touchdown? Like, oh no, that would be too exciting. Let's just blow the whistle. Play's over.
Well, and here's the other thing.
Here's on.
Here's the other thing. And people, I really don't care, but people have I'll be honest, when I have my son on, oh, you're bragging or whatever.
Hey, okay, I'm going to interrupt you on that one too.
Yeah.
Who cares
I know.
if you're bragging about your son? You're not working for anybody. This is not some corporation or organization. If you want to brag about your son on your social media, on your own damn podcast, go ahead and brag about him because he's a great kid. He's doing great stuff. Yeah. Go ahead and brag about him.
So
I don't care.
I appreciate that.
And Bomber Ballsy, like you and I were both Rams, but the 5 years that my son played for the U of S Huskies, I was the hugest Husky fan there was.
And still like him.
Yeah, but now that he's done, now I'm back to the hugest Rams fan.
Yeah.
And you, the 1 year when Ethan played in Calgary last year, like you were not cheering for the Rams, you're cheering for the Dinos. And why not? He's your kid. So yeah, like people that, if they want to rib you good-naturedly, Bomber Ballsy, okay, whatever. Yeah. But who cares? Like you're a free person. You got a family. Yeah. And if you want to talk about your family bought 30 Ethan Ball jerseys, awesome. Well, good for you guys. Wear those jerseys.
And that's why I'm using this as a talking point.
Stupid.
Not to brag, but this is where I was going with this.
Brag if you want.
So you're talking about the kicking game. This is exactly why. So my son went down to UND, NCAA Division I, okay? He played some big games, Nebraska, Boise State, all this stuff. He got his degree, and he still had another year of eligibility, actually 2 more, that he could have stayed down in NCAA football. And when we told people, because him and I had a conversation, and he said, Dad, I don't have enough, 2 things. I don't have enough tape to be a serious prospect for the NFL. I don't have enough tape, okay?
Yeah, because he was platooning with somebody, wasn't he?
In rotation, and he said, I don't have enough tape, and I've always wanted to be a CFL player. So if it's all the same to you, and I hope you're not mad at me, which I'm not. If he retired tomorrow, I wouldn't care. Honest to God, I wouldn't.
Right.
He said, I want to come back and play youth sports football because I've never been a defensive back in Canada, and the special teams in America are bullshit, he said. All I do is run a 60-yard sprint and go to the bench. It's all tag. It's all what we were talking about.
Touchbacks.
So he came here to be a special teams player and learn the motion and the different, because it's more formational in the States in terms of stagnant formation. There's no running waggle, there's none of that. So he had to learn, right? So I thought that was very smart of him.
Plus the spacing with the bigger field, it's different.
So he wanted to come here. And so that's what I'm getting at. Like, the special teams game lets Ethan Ball, lets your old guy, Josh Haggerty, carve out a 5-6 year career, now on his 4th team or whatever, in BC, recovered a fumble in the last
made
game
a couple
against
tackles,
Hamilton, probably playing tonight against Montreal again. Let's A.J. Allen now become a star on defense because he proved on special teams. Like, who in their right mind would want to get rid of that?
Yeah, I don't understand it. And I think that's kind of toning down a little bit. I'm not seeing as many people posting about that, whether it's the Rouge or whatever. And maybe it's just because, like, the last couple weeks of CFL football have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, there's been some pretty exciting games, and people appreciate, well, why are they exciting? Well, because Ottawa returned a missed field goal, 100 and some yards the other night, and Winnipeg had to kick a walk-off field goal to win, to try and salvage that win after they blew it with giving that one up.
Yeah.
So, and then last weekend with all the tight games and stuff, and kick returns last week too, I think. So, yeah, like, everybody making their judgments about the CFL and Canadian football back in week 1 and 2, like, let's just keep it in perspective. And we talked about this. Week 1 and 2 in the CFL is still preseason.
It is.
Because most of the starters have hardly played in the preseason. They need those only 2 games to try and evaluate the new guys. And we talked about chemistry a little while ago too. Like, it's going to take a while. So the first 2 games of the regular season in the CFL, and the NFL is getting this way too.
Yep.
Like, the first couple games in the NFL
Because they only have 1 preseason as well. Or
well,
3.
They're down to 3.
But they're going to be
down
down to 2.
They're talking about going down to 2 and
Yeah.
doing an 18-game season like the CFL.
Yeah.
What? The NFL's
Yeah.
doing what the CFL does?
They
Wow,
they
crazy.
always do what the CFL does.
But I mean, that's going to make those first 2, for sure, 2 regular season games just extension of the preseason in the NFL, just like it is in the CFL.
We're going to take another sponsor break and be back with more. The phone number to call, 306-992-6955. I know you guys, we see a lot of people watching us and people commenting, but if you want to weigh in, we'd be pleased to take your phone call. Your thoughts. Should the Riders bring in another kicker? What do you think of Trevor Harris? He's got to be the straightaway MOP. The Riders' defense is swarming. I'm going to pick Ryan's brain about that. It's Halsey, it's Ballsy, and it's you. We'll be back in a moment. At JLB Electric, their mission is to provide top-quality residential and commercial electrical services in Regina and surrounding area. They're committed to delivering efficient, reliable, and affordable electrical solutions, including new construction wiring, renovations, service upgrades, and 24-hour emergency assistance. Their team of licensed electricians ensures exceptional service from start to finish. They prioritize safety, customer satisfaction, and expert workmanship. As Regina's trusted one-stop shop for electrical contracting, they are dedicated to powering our community with excellence. All right, welcome back. He's Ryan Hall, accomplished coach provincially. Actually, he's got some safe contact camps going on. He's going to be in Moose Jaw tomorrow, so that's why he's in his hometown of Regina. He's usually at the lake.
Living at the lake,
lives like a hermit. Lives like a hermit. What do you call your place where the area you do the show from? What's it called again?
The End Zone.
The End Zone.
That's the name of my lake house.
Love it. Okay, so
my wife came up with that.
Really?
Yep.
She's the smart one, right?
Well, smart and good looking.
And you're good looking, but she's way better looking. Sorry. Hey, listen,
not even close.
I outkicked my coverage too. Okay, so the lit play of the game for JLB Electric, thanks to Chris and his gang. They're actually expanding to Okotoks. Son's playing baseball there, so that's really cool. I want to thank him for getting on board. So, lit play of the game. I had my own, but I'm going to defer to you. Did you have a play in the game that you thought really piqued your interest?
Yeah, the one that I really liked was the touchdown pass to Myers, which was a slant and go. And if you remember back in the first quarter, like the Hamilton defensive backs, they were just all over Trevor Harris. It was like they were in the huddle and they knew what plays were being called, and they were jumping those out routes and jumping the in routes. There's one that was intercepted. There's one that was almost intercepted. And got to give credit to Mark Mueller. Mm-hmm. He's no dummy. He's sitting up in the press box saying, okay, they're playing man coverage. They're jumping, and Hamilton was sending some pressure so that Trevor Harris had to get rid of the ball quick. So the first move, those defensive backs are jumping that first move. So Myers runs that quick slant, defensive back jumps it, and we saw this one like a month and a half ago. Same play by Mueller, a slant. When the defensive backs were getting aggressive, he just turned it into a slant and go. Myers is wide open for that touchdown. So I loved it, not just because it was a really nice play, but because of what led up to it. It was really good play calling and understanding of the game by Mark Mueller, and then great execution by the receiver and the quarterback.
We see a lot more Canadian coaches in the league. I'm glad he's got an offensive coordinator job. I've said it for a long time. I remember sitting with Trevor Harris on the bus. It was my last year doing it before Mueller came in, and I actually we were talking about Mueller on the bus. We were in Vancouver. I do remember it was like yesterday, pulling up to the hotel, and then in the off season, I said, "You're gonna love this." When he got it, I said, "You're gonna love this guy. This guy is great, and he does love him, man." Because Mark isn't arrogant. Like,
he'd be a collaborator. I'm guessing
everybody has egos. You have an ego. I have an ego. You have to in sports, and Mark does. Mark loves to win. Mark is an alpha dog, but he'll listen. Hey, Trevor, he's not stupid. He was with Bo Levi Mitchell, John Huffnagel, Dave Dickinson. He took collaboration. He soaked it in. Now he soaks it in from Trevor Harris. But here's what we did in Calgary. And I think there's a good cohesion there between those two guys. I see Mark as a head coach in this league one day.
Well, when you look at how the Rough Riders offense is evolving and improving and performing, and again, like Trevor Harris, is it fountain of youth that he's 39, he's playing his best football? Probably not. I don't think there's any magic pills. I think it's just a really good marriage or relationship with him and Mark Mueller that they seem to be working together really well.
Well, but here's where I wanted to morph into with that, okay? So in the first quarter, Hamilton seemed to have a great recipe. They were blitzing. They were getting to the quarterback. Harris cannot run, even though he had a nice, actually scrambled for a first down a la Zach Collaros, okay? But you can usually time Trevor Harris with the sundial, okay? But he gets the first down, shows a little moxie pointing for the first down. But Calgary had a great recipe. Calgary's got a very athletic D-line, and they push the pocket from the interior.
You mean Hamilton?
No. Calgary here. They pushed the pocket, okay? Hamilton had to bring a little bit of pressure, but therefore the D-backs could cheat because Harris didn't have a lot of time to get rid of the ball, right? Like he couldn't go through his progressions. But then they beat him on that deep slant and go that you said, and then it's like they got scared. They just went away they never went to it again.
You see that a lot of time more with offensive coordinators. Offensive coordinators, they'll have their plays they want to run, and especially if it's kind of like a specialty play, like a double move or a screen or something like that. And if the defense slams at one time, they never go back to it. Okay, we're not going back to that. Even though, obviously, they had it in the game plan for a reason. And I think Hamilton did that today on both sides of the ball. Like on the offensive side of the ball, what were they doing in the first quarter? Running the ball. They were running that power.
You know what I love?
And they were gashing the Riders.
I couldn't believe it. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I'm so excited. This sounds stupid. They went under center.
Yeah.
And they were getting 7-8 yards, and that also sets up the play action, right?
Sure. Like when you can run the ball, it sets up everything. It sets up play action. It stops the pass rush because that's why I think their running game was working so well is because the Riders, a lot of times early in the game, they were just sending 4, and so those guys are kind of like they're coming hard. There's different ways as a defensive lineman to play. You either play like it's a pass or you play like it's a run. If you're playing like it's a pass, your pads are up high, you're trying to get past the person. If you're playing like it's a run, you're playing low and you're taking on the person, half the person, you're trying to squeeze the gap and fill the gap beside it. And I think the Riders were, their defensive line was in kind of pass rush mode, and Hamilton's like, okay, you guys are going to play up high, we're just going to drive you out, open up a real nice running lane, and they went away from it. And then same thing, they got stung on that double move on the slant and go, and instead of just saying to the defensive backs, okay, guys, like you gotta make sure you're disciplined with your eyes and make sure you're not peeking at the quarterback if you're going to jump hard like that. It just seemed like they kind of went away with it. They were doing well in the first quarter, bringing pressure on Saskatchewan because, like Harris hasn't spent, and even today, he didn't spend too much time on his butt, but he was a little bit uncomfortable in the first quarter. You could kind of see it.
Yeah.
And he had to get rid of the ball quick, and a lot of times things hadn't developed, and it, just the margin for error is really small when you got to get rid of the ball really quickly.
So let's talk conversely on the other side of things. Riders play a lot of zone defense. They don't play a lot of man defense. And you can speak to this. It's not some big revelation on my end, but when you have a D-line like that, and Corey Mace has been early on when he became the coach here, and I knew he did this as a D coordinator in Toronto, he likes rotating 7, 8, 9 defensive linemen to keep them fresh. And I'm like, well, you're kind of using up a roster spot where you could have it somewhere else, but now when I'm watching and I get his methodology, those guys are always fresh, and they get there with an attitude, and they get there in a hurry. And when you can have a front seven like that, but in particular a front four, you could play deep all day. You could sit back in a zone all day long.
And that's just kind of an example of how the coverage and the pass rush are so connected. And a lot of people don't realize that, or they don't think about it, is, if the defensive backs are getting picked apart, they're terrible. Well, maybe it's not that they're terrible. Maybe there's no pressure on the quarterback. And same thing, the defensive line's getting lots of sacks. Everybody thinks, the defensive line's awesome. Yeah, maybe, but maybe they're getting sacks because the defensive coverage is so good. The quarterback can't throw the first read, can't throw third read. Next thing you know, he's going down, which happened to Bo today. And so I think defensively, like statistically, I know Saskatchewan was one of the top ranked defenses in the league. To me, they weren't playing like it, but today, I thought this was their best defensive game today. I thought they looked good.
A lot of teams are doing this now. They're playing 4 deep, the 4 defensive backs. Well, you got the safety too, but their 4 defensive backs are playing back. Calgary plays 4. You're not beating them deep. So it's funny.
Quarters.
Yeah, it's quarters. It's funny. Defensive guy. It's funny. I'm still learning. You're in a passing league. But I think more than ever, the run game is important. You got to be able to establish the run game, because now these guys can't be there. And you mentioned something that's key. The Riders are vulnerable. If you can step up in the pocket and get by that first level, there's a lot of space in the middle there.
Because, the Riders with their defensive line, especially when they only go with 4, a lot of times they're not just doing a straight ahead rush. A lot of time they're twisting. And when you twist, then you get out of the kind of traditional pass rush lanes, and when you start going sideways, when you start going horizontally instead of vertically going after the quarterback, it's easier for the offensive line to just wash you sideways. And again, when you're doing that, when you're twisting, you're playing up high. You're not playing low and strong. Your pads are up high, so you're easy to move. And so, again, in the first half, that happened a few times where all of a sudden, there was good pressure, but the pressure came from the outside, and there's nobody in the middle, no interior guys, no linebacker help because the linebackers had dropped off. And so then Bo was able to either step up and pass or scramble and get the first down.
We're going to take our last break here, sponsor break, and then we're going to maybe end with some fireworks. This is the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show.
Like Taylor Swift fireworks?
Yeah, that Taylor Swift fireworks.
Waldoo's Warriors, appropriately named after Paul Waldoo, the local football legend, played for the Thunder, played for the Huskies, 3-time Grey Cup champ, and still coaching the Stars of Tomorrow today with the U of S Huskies. Well, now he's taken his talents to the real estate game with the home expert team on Vic Avenue East. If you want to get in the real estate game with the 3-time Grey Cup champ, give Paul and his team a call, 306-502-5355.
Welcome back to the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show. He's Ryan Hall. I'm Michael Ball, and thanks for you watching, listening, whether it's live or later in tape form. Hey, however you're consuming this, we appreciate it, and the only way to grow our game is by things like this and word of mouth. So please like and share this. That'd be great, okay? Please like and share this to all your football friends. Thanks to all the sponsors that are getting on board. Hey, Waldoo's Warriors, the home expert team on Victoria Avenue East. The number to call, Paul Waldoo, 306-502-5355, 3-time Grey Cup champ, local football legend, played in the RMF, played for the Regina Thunder, played for the U of S Huskies, coaches the U of S Huskies, ran a 4.65 40 at the combine, he told me, 160 soaking wet, and somehow he converted that into a dream life where he's a 3-time Grey Cup champ
and now in the real estate game. So he'll talk football with you and get you some championship numbers.
And he's coaching Mighty Mites again this year with his son Crew.
Yeah,
second year coaching Mighty Mites. We just had our kickoff camp last weekend. Paul was out there.
That's what it's all about too. And you know what? Like, I did it for years. You've done it. Paul's doing it. But I have a lot of respect, actually, for the kids, for the young men that do it and don't have kids and come on, do it. Like Ram players, Thunder players in Saskatoon at SMF, Husky players, like the kids that don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak, and do it.
Yeah. And I mean, once it comes to our fall season, we don't really get those guys like the Rams and Thunder guys because they're in their season. They can't do it.
Right.
But we do have those guys coaching in our high school spring league a lot of times in recent years. Great to see those young guys getting involved. And then probably most valuably, once they're done their playing career, then getting into coaching. And as something that we were taught by Frank McChrystal 30 more years ago, give back. Give back to the game.
Here's the other good thing. You're doing this safe tackling camp tomorrow in Moose Jaw. And, hey, I was a football player, decent one, but I was on the offensive side. Now, I'm a head coach of an Atom team or a Pee Wee team or a Bantam team. I'm a dad. And I know football, but I'm not really smart enough to teach anybody how to tackle, at least tackle correctly. And as a parent, as a coach, and I'm coaching your kid, I always treated the other parents' kids like they were my kid, and they've entrusted me, maybe because they're too shy to coach. They're going to bitch at me at play calling. Screw you. You didn't want to coach.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to treat your kid fairly, and I want your kid to be treated safely. So I guess my message to the people watching here, if you're thinking of coaching, there are tools and there are people that can help you with that aspect of it.
Yeah, the Safe Contact course is something that's mandated by Football Canada for all amateur coaches. Unfortunately, not all take it, but in Regina Minor Football, we do require all of our coaches to take it, and it is everything you need to know to get started on coaching the contact skills of tackling, blocking, block defending, and ball carrying. And we've got a great manual that goes along with it with point-by-point coaching and videos that we show and drills that we do. And it really, the feedback I've got since we've been doing it for the last number of years has been really positive, that coaches just feel like, okay, I think I can do this. I signed up because my kid's team needed a coach, but I don't really know how to do this stuff like you're talking about.
Yeah.
But once they're done that day, that 7 hours of instruction and being on the field and stuff, they're kind of like, okay, I think I can do this.
So it's funny. We see the glamour, the pass down the sidelines, or the diving interception, and that's the highlight thing. But good championship, consistent winning football, there has to be two things. There has to be blocking, and there has to be tackling. Those are the two things.
By far.
And that's exactly what the Riders are doing this year. On offense, they're giving the 39-year-old Trevor Harris the fountain of youth. It's not so much he looks after his body. Listen, and compared to me, he's a young guy. But he's upright. He's getting time to pass. And they're blocking well for A.J. Ouellette, who you once again said isn't flashy, but is getting the job done.
Yeah, and you look at the receivers, too. Like the receivers we've been watching all season, one of the big keys to the Riders' offensive success is the great work the receivers do when they don't have the ball.
18-3, 88.
Same guys all the time.
Yep.
Emelis, when he was
19,
early in the year, Emelis made some great blocks in that early season game. I don't remember if it was the one he got hurt or the one before.
It was in town here against the BC Lions.
Yeah, it was like right at the beginning of the season, like phenomenal blocking. That's the difference. And, that's what I try and tell coaches all the time. Don't make a big deal about the kid that scored the touchdown. Everybody saw that. Make a big deal about the kids that made the blocks so that kid could score the touchdown. Those are the kids that matter, and those are the kids that need the love because they don't get the attention. They don't get their, like you said, that they're not on the highlight film.
Yeah.
But when you can point out, that was an amazing block, that you made that block and our quarterback could throw the ball or our running back could run it or our receiver could get into the end zone because you made that block 25 yards downfield, that's what's going to get kids fired up about playing the game the right way. And same thing on defense. Sometimes you can make the flashy interception, but the great play could be taking on a block and totally stuffing a run. And for, we talked about Matthew Betts a month and a half ago, taking on 2 guys on a short yardage play. On TV, they didn't talk about that. Nobody noticed it, but he took on 2 guys, showed his face in the hole, and I think it was Willette, either Willette or Stevens, whoever's on the short yardage play, went there, and then, I can't go there because that guy's standing in the hole, cut back and got tackled for a loss.
Yeah, that Toronto game against Edmonton, Nick Arbuckle, there's a blitz. Mac Mahan, I think, steps up and makes a block. Arbuckle rolls to the left, and the quarterbacks, it always amazes me, they know where the line of scrimmage is, so they don't go over. He holds up at the line of scrimmage, dumps it into the end zone for a touchdown, and as our buddy Sean Kleisinger was texting me, everybody's talking about the great catch and whatever. Nobody talked about the block and the awareness of Arbuckle to know where the line of scrimmage was.
Yeah, a lot of people don't pick up on that kind of stuff. You have to understand the game pretty well to notice those things and to get your eye off the ball. A lot of really interesting stuff happens in football that's not centered on the ball.
So let's talk about the Waldoos Warriors, a.k.a. our players of the game. And we'll start with offense for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I'm going to go with Greg Bell. Greg Bell, he didn't get the ball a lot.
Especially in the second half.
But that wasn't his fault.
No.
He ran it hard. He did pick up a couple of blitzers early in the game when Revis was coming, who comes with bad intentions. So I like Greg Bell. Do you agree with that one?
Yeah, I like that one for Hamilton.
Defensively, Hamilton was. I'm going to go with Talbot with that beautiful interception, and he had a couple of tackles and 1 knockdown. He was one of the leaders in knockdowns. I like that. That was an athletic play on defense.
Yeah, and we talked about before with Katsatonis being out. Their pass coverage in the middle was a little bit suspect. Their help from the middle wasn't there. But yeah, there were some great plays on the outside.
Yeah, Bannatyne, the Alberta product, Alberta Golden Bear draft pick, he was in position, but he
didn't quite get there.
He hesitated a couple of times, and you can't hesitate in this league. Special teams I'll leave to the end for both teams, okay? Because I didn't see anything on Hamilton that really jumped off the map at me. Offensively for the Riders, who would you pick for your Waldoos Warrior on offense?
Well, I texted about A.J. Willette, who I thought had a really effective game. Did nothing flashy, but just got some really great hard yards to put the Riders in good situations, to move the sticks, that kind of thing.
That's who I'm going to go with.
The easy one would be Trevor Harris, because Harris, again, had a really solid game. Pretty clean. He had the 1 interception, which can't really hang it on him too much because it was a pretty good pass. Just a great play, like you just mentioned. But that's the thing with the Riders. It's so much of what they do is by committee, which I really like. Yeah, because you never know who's going to have a big game. You never know which receiver is going to catch for 100 yards or score 2 touchdowns. You never know if which running back's going to score and get 100 yards or whatever, or which defensive linemen are getting sacks. Look at the Riders' D-line, just racking up the sacks, but everybody's kicking in.
So I'm going to go with A.J. Ouellette. I agree with you. Let's go with him. Defensively, we were happy he's on the team. We like him. He's a former Ram. We were a little critical of him earlier this year with his eye discipline, and he still gets caught sometimes. But it's no easy task to shut down Kenny Lawler. And Tavon Campbell, I thought, had a great game. Another interception, couple of tackles. It was a tic-tacky pass interference call, but he was right there with Kenny Lawler. I like Tavon Campbell today for my Waldoos Warrior.
And I liked, there was one time that they showed where Hamilton tried to throw a deep out pattern.
And he sunk.
And he had the underneath coverage. He didn't have the deep coverage. And just like most offensive coordinators do, there's an under to try and get the defensive back to jump the little 5-yard out, and then they throw the 15-yard out behind where it's wide open because that's a tough zone to cover. And he went out there, took the little jab step at the 5-yard out, and then sunk under, and then Bo Levi had to throw it over him and just aired it a little bit too much, went out of bounds. So I thought Campbell had a good game, much more disciplined play, which is awesome to see.
Special teams, there was no Warriors for me. No Warriors. Listen, I'll because that's not true, but I wanted to use this to go on a bit of a rant. But I'm going to say this. I did like, there was a nice open field tackle from Nelson Lacombo on a kick return where he came down, and Jackson Ford was around, your old guy Jackson Ford was around there. So they were noticeable to me. I was going to say I like the way that is it McCray? I always think Tim McCray when I think that, but I like how he attacks the ball.
Yes.
But he then, as soon as I was thinking that, he fumbled it off.
I know.
But everybody makes mistakes.
When he bobbled that punt, I was just about to text you. I really like 86,
Yes.
and then he bobbled it. But again, it was a tough one.
Dickey's always said.
I thought punting today.
Yeah.
I thought today was maybe our best game punting.
So Dickey always says, I want my returners to get a first down, meaning I want 10 yards.
10 yards,
and that's what McCray does. But here's where I want to go with punting. Yes, it was a better job punting. And I have nothing against anybody. I don't care about your skin color. I don't care where you're from. I don't care about any of that stuff.
Oh, I know where you're
going.
going.
But this is the Canadian Football League, CFL. This is how we're wrapping the show up. We don't think about this, folks. Let this marinate for a second. Maybe it matters to you. Maybe it doesn't. There will never be another John Ryan if the CFL has its way. There will never be another John Ryan. Thanks to Randy Ambrosie, the worst commissioner in CFL history, there is not a Canadian punter. There's not one Canadian punter in the CFL. Think about that for a minute. The Bernie Ruoffs, the
Bob
Camerons, the Paul McCallums, the Louis Pasaglias. I mean, the list goes, the Hank Olisics, the list goes, the guys who would stay in the John Ryans. Think about this, folks. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. John Ryan gives thousands of dollars to the RMF
for Mighty
Mites. John Ryan gave a $200,000 scholarship on behalf of his dad, or in the name of his dad, Bob Ryan, to the U of R Rams. And the Riders cut his ass when he was still averaging 49 yards a punt and was the best holder in the last 20 years in the CFL. We cut him because we have to fill a global spot, and it is, John said it at the time, and everybody was saying he was stupid, but he was absolutely right. It was an attack on Canadian kickers and Canadian punters. There's not one Canadian punter in the CFL, and that's a frickin' joke, and that is on Randy Ambrosie, and the new commissioner, Stuart Johnston, better quit his 100-day listening tour and get his ass in gear on that. That should be one of the first things he does. That's an absolute frickin' disgrace.
When you think of we even have Canadian quarterbacks now. We have Canadian guards. We have Canadian defensive tackles and defensive ends and linebackers and corners and safeties and receivers. Yeah. We got Canadians everywhere. How can we not have a Canadian punter?
I asked John Ryan, will you come to a camp? He said, I would, but why? Why would I? Like, he was, I want to help kids, and I do. It's not about making the pros, but people play this game and get to the next level and get to the next level. A lot of it is because they love it and they want to go to school, but let's be serious here. You have a better chance of being a professional athlete as a Canadian football player than you ever do as an NHLer or an NBA guy or anything like that.
Numbers-wise.
Make no mistake, okay? So there's a dream there, and it feeds the system. You can never be a punter? Because that's what it's set up to do. There's not one. I never thought the day I wouldn't see a Canadian punter.
Yeah, like that's one of the positions you think, oh, that's kind of a no-brainer for a Canadian is to play punter.
And they stay in the community.
Yeah.
Like Brett Lothar.
Yeah.
He's in the community. Let's be frank here, okay? Brett Lothar has had a good resume, and he's showing he can do it. And he's showing he can get out of funks. But if we're being honest, and it's what I do, Brett Lothar's here still because of what he does off the field, and he's in the community. Let's be honest. I think they're thinking smart for a change there in the business office, and it's like he does our community stuff, bullying,
Rider
the hockey
Foundation,
tournament, Rider Foundation. I mean, at some point, you're here to win games, so they're going to have to do something. Mm-hmm. But do you know what I'm saying? So we've totally eliminated that. And that brings me to this, okay? That brings me to this. And
I haven't read this yet.
No, so this is from Luke Wilson from TSN. Now, everybody who has followed me, they got rid of it. Can't see it now. Oh, my gosh. Oh, no, there it is. There it is. There it is. Show more. There it is. Okay, got it. Okay. So Luke Wilson earlier today, he's been doing an expose on TSN with Dwayne Ford and him.
And Dwayne Ford, I think, is a pretty smart guy.
He's a smart guy. I would like to see him a little more I would have loved to see him get a little bit more behind Luke Wilson, but a lot of guys shy away from calling it like they see it because they can lose jobs.
What?
Yeah, they can lose positions because people don't like the truth. But here's what he tweeted. And Luke Wilson and I, we were not on the best of terms. We butted heads. I called him names. He called me names. He reached out to me behind the scenes. We had a nice discussion. And we had a discussion about what he mentioned right here. And I said, Luke, if you can somehow do this in a way that doesn't harm you, but gets it out there, then I would have never had a problem with you. Just when I hear the word amateur or bush, it ties into the fan I like to call Basement Dave, who doesn't care about the CFL or three-down football and just wants to bang on the CFL. It's kind of like when you go to the exhibition. You don't see those people all year long, and a lot of them come up from the sewers, and you're like, where the hell were these people? Like, these people are in my town? That's Basement Dave, the football fan. So here we go. This is from Luke Wilson on Twitter. They made him take it down. They made him take it down. Public enemy number one, the secretive CFL Board of Governors. This is his words, not mine. Now, I've been saying this for years in kind of a lighter way. Like, I can't even believe a guy went harder than me, but this is what he said. So, this week, the Toronto Argos decided, because of the World Cup, they would play their games in Regina and Winnipeg.
And Hamilton.
Let's be honest. It's a cash grab because it's short-term gain for long-term pain. They're not, once again, the CFL is not looking from a wide angle. They're looking very narrow here. So they're trying to piggyback the Riders and the Bombers and Hamilton. Probably the three best. Montreal's up there too. Those would be the four strongest fan bases right now.
For Gate.
And they're trying to piggyback that to recoup some of their loss. Okay? And MLSE is taking a loss with the Argos. So they pay the checks. Okay, that's fine. But you're never going to grow a fan base by moving the games out. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but I don't think they just decided the World Cup was going to Toronto or BC yesterday.
I think I've heard something about that.
Yeah, for like 3 years. So you think you'd have a plan, but they don't. Like, do they not have a nice stadium in London, Western?
Yeah, like they can seat, I would think they would seat close to 10,000.
10,000. I talked to Christine Stapleton.
Yeah, how many options do they have in those Southern Ontario universities, plus
University of Toronto,
yeah, or
Guelph,
York, or whatever.
Yeah.
But what about like a maritime game too? What about a neutral site game like they've done before?
Well, I'm hoping a Doman. I don't think it's been released yet, and they're busy playing right now as we speak. I'm hoping Doman will follow through and do the Victoria like he did with the Touchdown Pacific for his 3 games. But anyway, here's what.
Or they also have Old Empire Stadium in Vancouver
that's been destroyed now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they should have.
Okay.
I wish they would have stayed there. Remember when they were reconfiguring BC Place for the winter games and they played there? By the way, Leander, hopefully you're not bored. But you told me to go longer on this show so we'd get more. By the way, like and share this. The viewership's picking up here. So here's what Luke Wilson had to say. The MLSE stuff with the schedule yesterday really puts things into perspective for me. Bothers me to no end. Why would you not play the games in Ontario? I would vote London. Instead, it's screw the fans, screw the brand, make the quick buck. Let's go to Regina, Winnipeg, and your arch-rival stadium. What we just said. As I reflected on that, I need to realize that the CFL doesn't give one single damn about growing the game. It's evident in almost everything they do. Genius Sports, the stats, which sucks. We've said that before. CFL socials, getting scores wrong. When Riley Pickett scores a 2-point convert, they call it a touchdown. When the Riders are leading Hamilton 17-10 at the or Toronto 17-10 at halftime, they said it was 17-7. Earlier this season, okay? I've spoken with a lot of people about the front offices of the CFL, and what I've come to realize, it's secretive board of governors. I believe it's their wish to keep the CFL as small as possible and eliminate as many Canadians as possible. He goes on, now I can't get to the rest of it because it's been cut off and deleted, but I know he said they want to get rid of him. There are cockroaches in the league and a TSN on air and off the air that want to get rid of him because of his stats. He thinks there should be more Canadians playing in the CFL, that the Board of Governors, they don't want CFL players because there's less, Canadian CFL players, because there's more Americans, and you can pay Americans cheaper if there are no Canadians, okay? Canadians
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand, and Canadians garner more money because there are fewer good ones than American players. Okay? I don't know if I'd go far to call front office people cockroaches and everything. That's his prerogative. But I think he's on to something. People don't want Canadians. And I don't know if... I can blame Randy Ambrosie all I want. And I think he was a big part of it. But Randy Ambrosie, also, like Roger Goodell, also works for owners. And I've always wondered this. Why would a guy who played in the Canadian Football League as a Canadian and wouldn't have played in the Canadian Football League if he wasn't a Canadian? And that's not a shot at Ambrosie. That goes for
anybody.
That goes for 99.9% because of American coaching bias, because of American scouting bias, and who knows, maybe because the front office doesn't want to pay Canadians. They don't care if it's Americans. Let's just have Americans, okay? But those Americans don't stay in our community.
Well, some do, but most don't.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I agree, and they're good Americans. I love our Americans. Don't get me wrong. I do.
Yep,
I had Justin Rankin on this week. I think he's a stud. Great running back.
He was good, yeah.
for
And he
Edmonton.
did a good interview with
Yeah,
you, too.
so my point about my kids' jerseys this week wasn't that I was bragging that I bought 27, that I'm spending all this money. My family paid for my son to play this week. Okay, that's what it was. We bought 27 jerseys. How many American rookie gunner jerseys are bought? I can guarantee you not 27 in a one fail swoop. So are Canadians not good for business? Not to mention how many of my friends and family travel to Winnipeg. And as I put in social media, and you may or may not have seen it, let's take this out of the equation. The Dalkeys, Leduc boy, could probably start on a lot of defenses, but right now he's a special teams glue guy for the Riders. His family brings 100 people to each Rider game in Edmonton for that game. 60 to Calgary and 10 to 40 plus to every game in Regina, plus all the jerseys and everything. You're going to tell me that that's not good for the CFL, that the Canadian ratio isn't good for the CFL? Like, I'm 100% behind what Luke is saying here. I feel like whenever we have attendance problems, it's always the rules are stupid or it's the Canadians' fault. We've never seen a better era of Canadian receivers, have we?
Well, Canadian talent in general. Like the Canadian talent these days, that's why I tell people, like, you know, don't just go to Mosaic Stadium to watch the Riders. Go to Mosaic to watch the Rams and to Thunder. And go to Saskatoon to Griffiths and to SMF to watch the Huskies and the Hilltops. That is great football. Those are great football players, and most of them are local. You know, they're Saskatchewan kids and the Saskatchewan coaches. We have some great players here in Saskatchewan, and some of them become Riders, and some of them become Lions, and some of them become Bombers. Like, they get to the CFL, but they didn't just show up that way. Even the high school football. There's some great high school football in Lumsden and Melfort and Regina and Saskatoon and Moose Jaw. Like, there's great high school football.
So his point was we need more Canadians, not less Canadians.
Yeah.
And I will go into this little rant because I said this. And you can bring this up because you were just over in Ireland.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody this is what I hear. Oh, I want the best player. I don't care. In France, in rugby, professional rugby, you have to have 15 French players on your team for a 31-player roster. That's non-negotiable. Aussie rules football. You're only allowed 3 imports on a team, and they play their own version of that type of football. They get 30 to 40,000 in Aussie rules football. All their rugby games sell out, or most of them. Now, here's the big one. Japanese baseball, professional baseball. You know, have you heard of Shohei Ohtani?
I've heard of that guy.
How about Ichiro? Have you heard of Ichiro?
Yep.
Those are just 2, okay? They're allowed 4 imports on their roster. They treat the Yoshimuri Giants and other teams like they're the Yankees and the Red Sox, like Americans would look at them. All the stadiums are sold out. There's more competition. I want to be on that team. So the level of play is better, and they develop their own players domestically, and now everybody buys into it, and now it's what it is. It's what I've said from day one, and Luke admits he finally gets what I was saying. It's not the game. It's not the ratio. It is messaging, promotion, and it's give a shit factor. Like, no wonder the Argos get 8,000 fans. They don't do anything.
I asked you about this a couple weeks ago if you had watched the latest season of Quarterback.
Two in.
Okay. Is it outstanding or not?
Outstanding.
Okay. And probably a lot of people have a lot of people have watched it. Quarterback a couple years ago, receiver last year, quarterback again this year from the NFL. Why do people love that? Because they watch it and they go, like, Kirk Cousins is a super interesting dude.
Yes.
And his family is really cool. Mm-hmm. And Jared Goff and Joe Burrow, like Joe Burrow's a pretty interesting guy.
Plays piano.
Yeah, like
he dresses all weird.
Buying his Batman,
yeah.
Batmobile and stuff.
Yeah.
So the other day I saw on social media that Hamilton was doing some kind of a YouTube
the Hammer,
documentary.
the first episode of 4 is out.
Yeah. And I thought, finally a CFL team is doing what's proven to work in the NFL. They're going to get people to watch that and start to fall in love with their team. And why can't, like, in our country, we've got these amazing universities and fine arts departments. Why can't we get in every CFL city some kid for their fine arts final project, do a documentary about something to do with your CFL team? Like in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, why not do it on the Manitoba guys? Like, do it on Oliveira and Dembski.
They've actually got cameras following Oliveira around right now.
Yeah, do that kind of stuff. And in Saskatchewan, do it about the small town connections, Logan Furland and Melfort and, kind of back and forth or whatever. Like, there's so many different angles. There's so many cool stories. And then people are going to watch that stuff. And now those guys aren't just football players. It's kind of like today at the stadium where they had Trevor Harris's son introducing him on the big screen. And the other day his son's on the weather. Like, people watch that and go, that's awesome. Like, look at his kids. They're so cute. They're so cool. Like, he's a real person. He's a dad and he loves his kids. And like, every player in the CFL has those stories, but yeah, let's focus on the Canadian aspect of it. And then that's what's going to get people more engaged, and we've talked about the video game side too, which is another big thing for young people. But yeah, there's
Dairy Queen. I go to Tim Hortons.
Yeah, the Dairy Queen. You talk about those helmets.
Tim Hortons. I can go and get a PWH Barbie doll, and that's great. Why can't I get something at Subway, like a sandwich, or the Arby's Hoggy Mouth with CFL wrappers, or why can't I get like they used to in the 70s have those Dairy Queen helmets with the Argos, the Riders? Why can't I do that now? Like, that's what I hope Stuart Johnston will do, because
But a lot of it's on the teams, I think.
True.
You don't need a commissioner to tell Hamilton, hey, do a documentary about Hamilton CFL. Like, the CFL teams individually, if they're, I think they all have PR departments.
Well, they've got Rob Vanstone here and Blake Tiedemann who do a great job.
Oh, and geez, like, what a resource Rob Vanstone is.
Yes.
Like looking at his tweets during the game, the stuff he comes up with is like mind-blowing, the things that he knows. And just to have him, like, if you could do current players, but you could also do like historical things as well. There's so many things that could be done that I don't think would be I don't think they'd be bank-breaking, and I think they'd just be simple things that could really turn more people on to the players in the league.
I pitched this to Len via text. Len Antonini at the RMF, the executive director, does a great job over there. Is Darcy Cook the president?
He's our president,
yeah. So here's what I pitched. He read it. He never got back to me. Maybe he's thinking about it. Okay, Len, calling you out. So here's what I would like to see. We have a wall of fame at the RMF in their office for all the builders
donors
that donated, like Botkin Construction and Gary Drummond, and I mean, there's Taylor Toyota, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Okay, I said, why don't we can't have a ring of honor? Okay, we cannot have a ring of honor, but why don't we got that end where the dressing rooms are, or maybe we can construct a wall. We need sponsorship, but why can't we? Next August is the big kickoff. In August, you have the big kickoff weekend.
Next Saturday is our big kickoff.
So picture next year. Off the top of my head, I got 20 guys off the top of my head that have played in the RMF that have gone to professional football. Why not? The very first guy inducted is John Ryan, because he's given to RMF with Mighty Mites. The only Saskatchewan kid to win a Super Bowl, play in one, let alone win one, and played in the CFL finished up with played with the Riders and finished up with Edmonton. Played RMF, he's done it all.
Yeah.
And he's our first inductee. He kicks off your weekend, he's on the field, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's great for the kids to see who's helped them, but it's great to see that guy. I could be him.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not John Ryan because they don't have Canadian punters. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And
but that's when you
so here, let me finish.
Okay.
So not something engraved, but why couldn't John Ryan, and you unroll a banner and it says John Ryan played RMF from 1994 to 1997. I'm just making up. And then he played with the Riders,
Sheldon Williams.
Super Bowl champ. That's his banner. The next year it's Chris Getzlaff. The next year it's Dan Clark. Like now all of a sudden I'm a big lineman. I could be Dan Clark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's like when you look at when I teach performance psychology. A lot of it is like, where does greatness come from? And a lot of greatness comes from talent hotbeds, where kids grow up and they see examples around them, the Paul Waldus and
another one,
yeah.
Stu Ford.
Yeah.
Like the list goes on and on.
And the current guys like Mitch Picton and Jackson and Ethan and Josh and all these guys that are playing right now. But yeah, that's the key, is for young kids to see that 15 years ago, that guy was me. So in 15 years, I can maybe be that guy if I work hard, if I get good coaching and
I'm Mark Mueller.
Right
I'm Mark Mueller. I played for the Rams. I went briefly with Edmonton. Now I'm a coach. Now I'm a head coach. Or how about not even, doesn't even have to go to the CFL. Noah Picton, Heck Crichton Trophy winner. There's a lot of kids that would look up to guys like that, and we just don't promote. That's the other thing I had a problem with the Rams. The Regina Rams, I don't know about now, but in my opinion, for a good chunk of time, we never promote, and I say we because I was a Ram, there should have been banners and everything around the school. Akeem Hicks, Stephen Charles, not just the CFL, we're talking the NFL. Brett Jones, Jason Claremont.
Tavon
Campbell. We've had guys go to the national. If we want to say, that's the league, little old Regina had all those guys go to the NFL. Mm-hmm. That should have been promoted everywhere, and we didn't do it. It's like we don't want to. He's from Canada. He can't be that good.
He can be that good.
Yeah, he can be that good. I'm sorry, but he didn't play. That's the other thing. Well, he's white and he's Canadian, and he didn't play NCAA. Well, my kid's white. Yes, he is Canadian. He's fast, and he played NCAA. You can make up a bunch of crap, but Canadians are where we're at, and we're either the best we've ever been or we're not. So, why should we look at reducing Canadians? I say next CBA, 10 Canadians, 5 aside. Because what you're getting now, good coaches like you find a way to cheat. They find a way to legally cheat. So you look at Calgary's defense, for instance, 10 Americans, 2 Canadians. I think it should be 5 and 5.
Yeah.
I have to have 5 on offense and 5 on defense. That's what I think.
Yeah, or there's other ways of looking at it. You can tie in special teams with that as well, if we're going to keep special teams the huge part of the game that it is. But yeah, the bottom line is we just have to protect and promote and preserve, like the Gaelic Athletic Association.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that, because you were in Ireland.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a big topic. Let's talk about it on a Ballsy Uncut sometime or whatever. But yeah, it just all comes down to pride. And unfortunately, I taught a little bit of grade 12 English, Canadian literature, and that kind of thing. And one of the big questions in that course is, what's the Canadian identity? And as I explored that with kids, a lot of times what I come down to is the Canadian identity is bitching about ourselves and cutting ourselves down and saying how bad we are and how bad we were, and not having pride in the great things, but we did that good thing, but look at all these bad things we've done, and let's take down these statues and let's cancel people and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's probably why we don't have strong alumni associations with sports teams and universities and stuff, promoting ourselves, promoting the people from our communities and our organizations that have done great things, is because it's just that negative self-attitude that we have. Yeah, that's just my perspective.
By the way, Canadian, Wilfrid Laurier, did you see Taylor Elgersma today?
Yeah.
He led 3 scoring drives, 2 touchdowns, and a field goal for the Green Bay Packers today. So Winnipeg draft pick. Don't think he's going to be back this year for the Bombers, but yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for our time here. Once again, like and share this. If you're watching it live, we appreciate it. If you're watching it later.
And good job if you stuck with us. Holy cow, we blabbed on a long time.
Yeah, long time.
Especially Michael blabbed on a long time.
It was fun. Hey, lastly, last word, though. This is what I'm looking forward to next week. Riders, Stamps. Riders are relatively healthy if they got through this unscathed, which I think they did. Although Carney got nicked up, so did Micah, but he came back to get a sack. Micah Johnson against Calgary coming off a bye, and the Stamps looked like they're a good team. Right now, those are the 2 best teams in the West.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Should be the next few games for the Riders should be really great matchups.
Good luck with your tackle camps.
Thanks. Looking forward to it.
Safe contact. All right, that'll do it for our time. Thanks to Leander. He hung in there and he stood for the whole thing.
Yeah,
you stood for the
eyes are
whole thing.
open.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for catching the show. A reminder, the best form of promotion is word of mouth. So please tell everybody you know about this show. As we grow this show, we in turn help to grow the game we love, the 3-down game. Catch you next time.